of forfeiting our interests. He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
That sounds great here.
Keep in mind that some guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going to the Clay Douglas show?
I met this good guy that they're listening this morning.
All of them are being an expiration date on that.
He is the free American Clay Douglas. It's the Free American, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. Every time I think about it, damn it's just been done. The anger will restrain me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon down from the sky and stop the sun. For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
All right. Well, I'm getting interference here on my both of my computers. Internet seems to be screwing up. Dave, can you hear me, Dave Corso? Hello, Dave. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I'm there, Claude.
Okay, David, good. That much is working right. Well, good morning, folks. I don't know, it's colder than hell here, ice up in Dallas, and I don't know what's going on here. I haven't changed anything on my site since yesterday. Let me check my Skype here, audio settings, see if we can do anything here. Again, no, everything seems to be working all right. Just problems with this call. There's a problem with this call. Hold on while we try to get the call back. Well, let me try to reconnect here.
Pardon me.
All right, how we are. I've had to reboot a couple of times here. What's going on? David Corso, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but I was going to ask David a question.
All right, well, go ahead, sir. I'm just trying to get back on here. Go ahead.
Dave, what do you mean by advocacy?
Well, my parents were child abductors and traffickers, and I have been trying to get this exposed through the court systems, through the political systems, through everything. Working with survivors, not only in the nation, but all around the world, trying to expose this mind control / satanic thing that's going on. advocacy work, what I was told was that I've been working with a bunch of strangers and accomplishing nothing for a bunch of people who don't appreciate me. And the advocacy work that I've done in the last 7 years has basically cost me everything. I'm now in the process of getting a divorce because my other half can't take the advocacy work. And so I'm writing a book now on what happened after I wrote Rabbit Hole and everything that I went through with Rabbit Hole and the advocacy work that I was doing and what it's done in my life, you know, just to warn people. I mean, there are people out there I can understand because I've had death threats, I've had dead animals left in my yard, our cars have been trashed, you know, I live under a constant threat of violence, and people just can't take it, you know, and that's what you face when you go out into the advocacy world, you know. Does that help?
Does that answer your question there, David? It doesn't answer all of mine. How are you doing this advocacy? You've written a book, and the book's up for sale here.
Yeah, I have a book out called Rabbit Hole, Satanic Ritual Abuse Survivor Story. You can find it on Amazon. It's both on paperback and Kindle. It deals with the Franklin credit scandal and the child trafficking that was going on in Omaha in the 80s and 90s. And so I wrote that. I got targeted by our government with electronic
now, what was your connection? What the name of the author of the Franklin cover-up just escaped me for a minute, but I sold that book back years ago. I've had him on my show and interviewed him, and I've also interviewed the mother of one of the children that had been abducted, and she fought for it, but again, that's been all 10 years ago, and I'm not remembering all of the names. The boy that had been abducted and used showed back up with at his mother's, and that story continued. Now, who was doing the satanic? All right, what's that? Hang on.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Who was these are relatives of yours that were trying to use you in satanic ceremonies, and how did they?
Oh yeah.
How did they didn't kill you? So, what were you? You were another John Benet Ramsey on the male version, or what?
I was a host. I was designed to be a host. They believed in demonic possession, and I was designed to be a host for what was living inside my father. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what they, you know.
So you believe in possession. You believe in the power of the Satanist here.
Yes, I do. I believe that energy can be focused. I believe that energy can be manifested, and I think that the reason why the Satanists have gotten away with what they have is because they've had a great deal of power.
Yeah, the author's name, thank you, Terry, is John DeCamp, and I gave him as a reference once, and he didn't remember that I'd sold his book for years. So it's almost like the people that get involved in this and exposing this are subjected to some type of mind control, some type of interference, some type of black magic, possibly. Could that be possible?
Oh yeah. I always tell people that people who say that black magic or using magic doesn't work haven't used it. And so
Well, I've studied it for many years. I read all of Aleister Crowley's work, and I believe it's real. I mean, I believe we have, even Jesus told you that you could do what he did and more. And so the power is there, and you've got free will, so you get to decide whether you want to put that power to work for good or evil. You know, people.
Well, I talk about it in my book. I talk about it in my book, Rabbit Hole. I talk about when my father passed, and the same demon that was in my father, I actually did become possessed on my 40th birthday. And
But you broke up there a little bit.
it said to me, I started dreaming about a demon coming in after me 3 days before my father died, which was really strange because we were estranged. I didn't know my father was dying. And the third day that I woke up, my oldest sister called and told me that my father was dead. And I walked down into my studio and I heard a voice crystal clear inside my head that was not my own. And the first thing it said to me was that I was not like the others. And
Repeat that. Repeat that. Repeat that, please. I didn't catch that.
When I woke up in the morning, walked out to my studio. I have an art studio that I had downstairs, and I walked downstairs, and the first thing that I heard was a voice inside my head that said I was not like the others. And then it told me I could do anything I wanted to do and never pay a day's price for anything that I did. All I had to do was ask. And I went to therapy that day. I generally always go to therapy.
How old were you at that time when your father died and you heard the voice? How
40,
old were you?
40 years old. 40. He died my 39th year. And so he died, and so I ended up going to therapy. I had some people who were very spiritual, who were shamanic practitioners in town. I talked to them, and they told me, go. I was going to go have the soul people, shamanic people call it an extractment, soul extractment. Some people call it an exorcist. But the next day I woke up and I started talking to myself down in my studio, to this thing that was inside of me, and said, you have to do anything I want you to do, right? You have to do anything. It said anything. All you have to do is ask me. And so I said, well, if you have to do anything that I want you to do, then what I want you to do is I want you to go to God. And I want you to ask God what it is that God wants you to do, and I want you to do that instead. And it was a pivotal moment in my life. I ended up having an extractment that night. It's funny because people will talk about angels and God and all of that. The fallen and demons and stuff are just as real as angels and God as well. There's a reason why these satanic practitioners, such as Colonel Aquino, who is basically head of the MK Ultra stuff, So, did that help out? Did that answer your question?
Yeah. I'm familiar with Aquino. Haven't met him. Haven't interviewed him yet. But a guy named Doug Millar has kind of been on his ass and been targeted by.
Oh yeah, Doug Millar is like a compendium of information on Aquino.
Now, anytime you're in this, and I've been opposing the whole New World Order since Waco. I mean, that to me,
Yeah.
that was a satanic sacrifice. The press was part of covering it up. They had they resisted by force of arms, so we had to go kill those 17 little children to save them from a child molester.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's what these, we talk about this, everyone says, oh, Satanist, Satanist, Satanist. What we're talking about is not so much Satanists or witches. What we are talking about are pedophiles. Pedophiles who are in league with kids, who do anything they want to kids. And that's what we're talking about. It's all hidden in this satanic stuff because it makes it all this hoopla of humbo jumbo of, Satanists, so everyone dismisses it. But we're not talking about Satanists. We're talking about pedophiles and child traffickers. Our own Justice Department at the Center for Missing and Exploited Children will tell you that 2,185 kids are disappearing a day. And yet, how long did we have to listen to Casey Anthony? How long did we have to listen about one child dying? And in that time, 2,185 kids a day were disappearing. And yet we listened for a year and a half to Casey Anthony. Our media and our government is basically trying to downplay these issues. And that's the advocacy work that I have, tried to actually work out, is trying to get this exposed. There's a lot of apathy, and there's a lot of people who just don't want to get involved, And the reason why I got involved is because I realized years ago that what happened to me in my past was happening to people in their present, and it was going to happen in the future to other people. And I feel compelled to try and do something to help save my fellow man,
Now, are you familiar with Kathy O'Brien? She and Mark were friends of mine. They appeared at some of my conferences here in Texas that I put on with the Free American. And she states that George Bush was molesting her daughter when she was a child. And, of course, Kathy was used as a sex slave. Her handler was Dick Cheney. And I believe
those people, George Bush was heavily involved in mine. The thing is that you have all of these people who, will say, oh, these high-profile people, oh, they couldn't possibly be part of anything like that. Oh, that couldn't possibly happen. It did happen. It does happen. Contrary to popular belief, George Bush, when he gets up in the morning, puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. He is a man. He's not a deity.
Yes, sir.
And
An
so,
evil man, but I first ran afoul of the whole CIA, which is involved in this. The CIA was part of the finders there in Florida that were exposed. So, and as far as I'm concerned, the CIA, the Mossad, MI6, all are pretty much evil, working for the bankers, and they're trying to take out any of us that are doing good. They tried to take me out for opposing what happened at Waco and trying to set up the militias to defend the American people in case something like that happened again. And that got me targeted by the ADL and Southern Poverty Law, all Jewish organizations. Now, I'm also, the thought just kind of popped in my mind about these rabbis pretty much molesting children when they're born, from the day they were born. Then, and the whole circumcision thing is a way to traumatize children, and this is kind of a Jewish tradition. Do you have any insight into the whole Jewish question here? And I know, they're not all bad. They're not all Jews aren't bad. Well, if I've met a couple of good ones. I know of a couple of good ones: Aaron Russo, Jack Hara, and Benjamin Friedman. But if you are Jewish or Christian and you're standing by and believe, and I kind of believe that if you call yourself a Judeo-Christian, you're pretty much on the side of the Talmud, and the Talmud is an evil document that is definitely anti-Christ. And to me, Jesus was the first rebel that really figured out the problem we've got today. How do you oppose evil without becoming evil? I don't think we can do it by going out and killing everybody that's different from us. And the whole Christian thing. Why? I'm a Baptist. You're a Methodist. You know, you dance. That means you're not the good guys. You're not the good guys. This is divide and conquer, and this is what the evil people among us want to do. Your opinion, sir. And let's touch on this. Go ahead, Jewish. Go ahead.
The Jewish faith and my family is what connected us to all of this crap.
Repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. It broke.
My father's family was Jewish.
Well, the Jews are the originators of the Kabbalah. This is the black magic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just it. It was all connected to this. I mean, they can say what I'm not anti-Semitic by any means. I'm very proud of my Jewish heritage. But there is too big of a correlation to the satanic stuff and Judaism. There is. And I'm not saying all Jews are Satanists. I'm not saying anything like that. That's, no. But, I think the Jews are focused on money. The Jews are focused on money. Money corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's what we have, is that we have, what we're dealing with this group of people that we're dealing with. People want to say, oh, it's the 1%, and it's not the 1% of the people. It is the 0.25% of the elitists who are controlling everything. And that's where that's the reason why you turn on television. I mean, you can celebrate Satanism all you want. How many murders can you watch in one night? How many rapes? How much trauma can you put yourself through in one night of television? And we say that we're not satanic, that we're not programming ourselves. Are you kidding me? You sit and watch all of this garbage for 10 hours. It's funny enough, one of the things that I'm getting a divorce from, or why I'm getting a divorce, is because I don't like Kim Kardashian. I swear to God. That's one of the issues between us. And I won't watch the Kardashians.
Well, I got to tell you here that I just put up in my next issue of the Free American, which I've been working on, the whole satanic Illuminati programming of the Kardashians, of Bruce Jenner, of his daughters. I just and I don't watch TV. I say they don't call it programming for nothing. And it's I just did a whole thing in my latest magazine on the Kardashian Christmas cards. They had of the Illuminati. They got you got Kim Kardashian posing with a revealing outfit. Her curves are the main reason why our entire family is famous right now. Maybe that's why there's a huge dollar sign next to her. And the symbols on this Christmas card, as a matter of fact, what it says here is, if there was an award for the less Christmassy Christmas card in the history of the world, it should go to the 2013 Kardashian Christmas card. It was shot by elite fashion photographer David Watchapelli, and the card is a rather grim and depressing summation of the entertainment world, a industry ruled by the shadowy elite that is turning popular culture into a toxic wasteland populated with vacuous celebrities such as the Kardashians. The wide panoramic card is filled with symbolism and references describing everything that the Illuminati entertainment industry is about. It took place in an abandoned movie theater, one that appears to be destroyed and vandalized, and that's pretty much a accurate decision. And you know, I don't watch TV, so I don't know what this reality series is, but I had to put it in here.
I like you. I don't watch television. You know, I always tell people, if you don't want to be programmed, shut this shit off. You know, I'm sorry, but that's just it. If you want to lead a happier life and be more content with life, turn your computer and your television off and go out into the world. And that's what's happened, is that we have become so isolated as a society. You know, how many friends, you know, I'm sorry, but when you have people who are all excited because they have 300 Facebook friends, you know, I know I've talked to people on Facebook. I don't know who they are. If I got in trouble, I couldn't call them for help. They're acquaintances. They're not friends. And that's what happens. That's what's happening, is that we're all becoming isolated, and it's like our worlds are they have us so close to the grindstone and keeping us working so hard that hardly any of us can actually take a minute to get up and look around. And that's, you know, that's just, you know.
Well, I have told people when I started the militias in New Mexico, and I did it in the governor's office, wasn't a terrorist group, just going along with the concept of people protecting people. I tell people the first thing you should do is take your weapon, clean it, load it, shoot the TV. You'll be a lot better off.
Yep.
Now,
well, and that's what they're trying to do with this whole Obamacare mental illness thing, is trying to, you know, when I read this, they wanted to take guns away from people who had psychiatric illness, but you have 30 million people taking antidepressants. We have so many people taking antidepressants and peeing it into our water. We have antidepressants in our water that we can't get rid of, because so many people are taking antidepressants. Well, you clarified that they're incapable of having guns. That's 30 million guns taken away. You know, and we all have seen what's happened. Historically speaking, when you take away the guns from the people, fascism comes about. It does. It's historically, you know, and the fact that, I mean, to bring back the whole thing of the Kardashians and the whole stuff, they're getting married at Versailles, which is very beautiful. It is very beautiful. But let's remember, the French Revolution happened because of Versailles. You know, it's this. We have so many people who are running around, you know, trying to emulate these white trash people. They are just, you know, I don't know. The world is just crazy.
Well, you know, I'm reminded of, David, I'm reminded of the old song during World War II. How you gonna get them back on the farm after they've seen Gay Paris? Or how you gonna get them back on the farm after they've seen L.A.? After they've gone to Hollywood? We're programmed to believe this, to believe, well, this is what we're supposed to have: fast cars, spend a lot of money, and you know, back in the Depression, 30 or 40% of the people lived on farms and were self-sufficient, And today, we got less than 1%. The ninth plank on the Communist Manifesto is corporate farms, and they are trying to they're trying to destroy the self-sufficient family farm because they don't want you to be independent. They want you to be dependent on the trucks, on the gasoline, on the power companies, everything else.
They want to enforce dependency, and that's what they're trying to do, is force dependency. Because if you're dependent, then you have no choices. And that's what they want, is that they don't want the American people or people in the world to have any choices. And so we have, and we as a group of people cannot keep waiting for a savior to come save us. We have to stand up and do something about this now. It's great to think that someone's going to fly out of the clouds and break through the fifth dimension and save us and all that. But boy, I'm tired of waiting for it. I'm tired of waiting for it. I'm tired of waiting for this, prophesize where everything is going to be solved and stuff like that. It's time for us to start solving our own problems. And that means facing the problems as they are. And that means actually honestly looking at what is going on in the world and trying to make a change. Being honest about what's wrong with it and trying to fix it so that we can live in a world that we're actually proud of instead of one that we despair of, Because I don't think that the human race, I don't think that our future is going to be a Terminator-like future. I think we have a choice. But if we don't start making choices, and we don't start getting involved, and we don't start letting our voices being heard, we're going to let this 0.25% run everything into the ground. And they'll have, they're not going hungry. They're not going hungry. Their electric bills are being paid. They have houses upon houses. They you have politicians where when the government, he was from Nebraska.
Broke up a little bit there. There we
basically
go.
what it is. It's the old adage of let them eat cake. The whole, it's the old adage of let them eat cake. It's this narcissistic, way of looking at life, and we really do. I have lost almost everything because of the advocacy work that I've done, and yet I still would do the same thing over because it is the right thing to do, and I always, so now what's the life of God, and that's basically what I've done.
Okay,
And it's really final attention, the facts of the matter are so demographic that they come together, they're people.
Dave, we're breaking. His sound is breaking up here.
I tell people it's not.
I don't.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
I've heard that this thing is all an octopus. It gets compared to an octopus, and I tell people all the time it's not an octopus. It's a spider web. It's easy to get stuck on one strand. All of it is just crazy. It's just. It's a.
Yep, lost it again here. Lost connection here. Let's see if we can get it back. Trying to get it back. All right.
Here is the social worker.
Got you back.
Down south that lost 70 kids. Sorry, Clay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
But our systems that are there to protect our children are, they're not in place. They're not working. Our children are not being protected. And it's time for us to all get together and start doing something to change this and stop being so apathetic and such victims.
Well,
we're all thinking. Go ahead.
the what happened at Waco was a psychological operation on the American people. At the same time, it was, as far as I can tell, it was a satanic sacrifice of children, and
Yeah.
that's continued on. That's happened time and time again. It happened at Columbine. It happened at Sandy Hook. And there's the Child Protective Services has come after children and taken children away from good, responsible parents, and they were dead a week later. This is happening over and over again, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So this is government-sanctioned child abduction, and the same thing's happening worldwide. Children are being taken from the Ukraine and sent to Israel for pedophiles and to put them into prostitution.
Yep. And that's exactly what they're doing. One child, you know, people say they look at it and they break it away, but if you put it together like this, you abduct one child, you beat that child, they become complacent to you in 3 days. You can then sell that child for sex as many times as you possibly can until that child is no longer desirable or, you know, acceptable. Then you can either sell them into slavery, or you can kill them with a snuff film. That's about $50,000-$60,000. Mine their organs, put those in the black market because we have a multi-billion-dollar black market on organ industry. And so, you know, you can make an untold amount of cash on one child. It's basically, you know, there's no humanity in it. And it's all about money. It's all about the cash that's being made about it. And that's where we have to focus and realize that human life is worth more than just a couple pieces of paper.
Well, what you've said here points the finger right at the pharmaceutical industry. Our children are getting, the pharmaceutical companies are making money because the children are being diagnosed with a disease that don't exist. This attention deficit disorder is bullshit. If a kid's bright, you know, I got kicked out of school for doing my homework ahead of time. The woman's
what we're doing
go
is
ahead.
we're dumbing down the schools. The people who, you know, what ended up happening in my day and age when I was a kid, they didn't give you pills for attention deficit disorder. What they decided was that you were probably more intelligent and you were just bored, and they put you in more advanced classes. They didn't fill you full of pills. Now kids, you know, this old program, No Child Left Behind. I have some friends who are teachers, and they call it, the program is more apt to be called No Teacher Left Standing, because it made the school system so intolerable, you know.
In my 9th grade class, I was a straight A student. You know, I rarely made a B. And I changed schools and had a job, bought my motorcycle, bought my first motorcycle, second actually. And I was in my English class doing my math homework. And the teacher comes up, "What are you doing?" "I'm doing my math homework." "Well, you're supposed to read that story I assigned to the class." I read it. "Well, you're supposed to answer the questions in it. Here they are." "Well, read the next one." I said, "Lady, I read the whole damn book. I got the answer to all the questions right here in my notebook. This is where I do my math homework. I work after school. Leave me alone. Leave me alone." But hang on here. What do we got here? problem with the call. Bringing the call back here. Come on, get the internet working here, guys. Homeland Security, fusion centers. Leave my show alone here. Let me try this. Waiting for it to come back.
A little guy.
There we go. Okay, I got you back here. I'm
in the
sorry.
speech and screwing of all.
I'm sorry. Here, I lost that. I lost a couple of them.
I think those are all relevant. Sorry about that, Clay.
That's
I was
all right.
just saying that
Go ahead.
I tell people all the time that I'm proud to be American, but I'm not proud of our American government. You know, the ideals and the stuff that America was built on, I believe in those. The freedom and freedoms and the stuff that we've tried to do to help each other that America was supposedly founded on, I believe in all that. But somehow or other we've come around and now it's all just about cash. It's all about money and it's all about control. And so...
Well, this whole attention deficit disorder, the fact that our vets are coming back and they're putting them on these psychotropic, and there's 2,000% or more markup on all of these drugs. On Valium, there's over 1,000% markup. They're making a killing off of this, and they're feeding their children this Ritalin. There's no reason for our children to take Ritalin. And to finish my story, the teacher took me to the principal, and he told me vice principal. His name was Charles Manderville at Forest Oak Junior High School in Fort Worth, Texas. He said, I got to give you licks. I said, licks? For what? Doing my homework ahead of time? No, you said damn. I said, well, I'll tell you what, nobody's ever hit me, and you try to hit me with that paddle with the holes in it, I'm going to take it away from you and jam it up your ass. So I got kicked out of school. I went to, my mother moved me to a friend's house and put me in another school. The woman said, the teacher, English class, first time I was in this second school, she said, now son, we've got a test here, but you just got here. You don't have to take the test. I said, no, ma'am, I don't want any special privileges. I'll be happy to take the test. After the test was over, she got up before the class and said, class, I am so disappointed in you. Out of this whole class, only one person made 100, and it's that young man right there that didn't even study for it. I got up and I said, you know, you're crazy, lady. You just killed any chance I had to assimilate here, and I walked out and I never went back. And I'm working on my master's degree right now, so I don't think you really need these schools. And one of the things I did 20 years ago, David, was to provide an alternative. At the time it was called the Little Red Schoolhouse, and my friend Dr. Jake Wade put that on. It's you don't have to go to school. You can get your degree in Timothy Bible College and the Little Red Schoolhouse. You don't have, if we use the technology we've got, the internet that we've got, to educate people instead of indoctrinate people, which is what the schools do. The schools indoctrinate people. It's if we did that and used Little Red Schoolhouse or Timothy Bible College, we wouldn't have Columbines, we wouldn't have Sandy Hooks, we wouldn't have Wacos.
No, we wouldn't.
But
and we'd have closer communities as well.
Now, the trick is everything's a double-edged sword, folks. And you can do this. I mean, you can get online right now on my website, freeamerican.com. You got links to David's website. You got links to Timothy Bible College. You could sign up for that. Your college would be a hell of a lot cheaper. What they're doing now, they want you to take out a loan so you can pay interest on the money you got twice. You pay it when the Federal Reserve issues the money, you're paying interest on that. And they don't issue the money for the interest, so how are you going to pay it? But that is not a substitute, and this is why I tried to create something called Liberty Villages. You have dozen low-cost structures. You got a community garden. You grow your food there. You buy your supplies as a co-op, so you're cutting the cost of everything that you do, and you work together. You got a common meeting hall. You got low-cost structures, teepees, yurts, sod houses, hay bale houses, adobe. You know, two classes of people will live in adobe houses: the very rich and the very poor. And if you do that in a community setting, and we actually had the Liberty Villages, this whole country was founded on Liberty Villages, small town America, people living together, working together. I had a lady from Florida call me and say, well, Clay, it's a good idea, but we're already doing that. I live in northern Florida, and we got a small town here, and we got farms all around it, and they bring all their food into the farmers market. We buy our food directly from the farmers, and everybody looks out for each other. I mean, my kids went to high school in Carrizozo, New Mexico. Everybody there knew my children, knew who I was, and so I never had to worry about my children at all. The whole community was looking out for them. Just lost the Skype again. Hang on. All right, we're getting it back here. I think we're getting it back. Boy, they really don't like me talking about this, do they? Are we back, Dave? Incredible here. Are we back? We're trying to get back on here. Call dropped, call dropped, call dropped. Internet connection. You can thank Homeland Security. You can thank the fusion centers for this. Nothing wrong with my computers. Nothing wrong with even the internet here. We're doing all right here. Except again, we'll try this again here. Incredible here. All right. Alright, we're still recording here, but this computer's down. Alright. we're trying to get back up here.
And
All right, I got you back.
about it.
I got you back here.
Clay, be quiet for a minute. I'm talking.
Didn't know that.
I hadn't. I hadn't thought about it, and I thought, I am bored. And she was just like, the books that I had loaned her to read to introduce to the class were so above what the class was capable of doing. And that's what it is that our institutions, our higher learning institutions, are not designed for people who can think. They're for people who can take orders. They're not teaching people how to think. They're teaching people how to, work a job and stay the nose to the grindstone. And it's like Clay was talking about. He passed tests. Well, years ago they would have given him A for effort. Today they would have given him Ritalin. Oh my God! What do you mean you passed the test without studying? There must be something wrong with you. You must have a brain in your head. We may need to kill that right away.
David, it extends further than just our school system. When I joined the Army, volunteered for Special Forces in 1964, I took a test for OCS, and I was turned down, and I was outraged. Man, I went in pounding on the table, told the sergeant, I want to know why I didn't get OCS. I have never failed a test, ever. He said, oh, you didn't fail the test. You scored so high on the test, they won't let you be an officer because anyone with your IQ will question orders.
Yeah. That's what they are doing. If you type in on Google ABC News, ABC News, police, and IQ, I think if you type in those three words, you will find that there was a lawsuit that was presented that got turned down. And the reason and what is happening is that they are hiring people of a lower IQ for police jobs. They are not the best and the brightest. They are low IQ people. And the lawsuit basically was people who had a higher IQ were saying that they were being discriminated against because they wouldn't get jobs. They wouldn't hire them because the jobs for police officers because they want a lower IQ. And so we are focused in this country on a much lower IQ. Our idols are people like Kim Kardashian, who made her way in the world. Remind everybody, that's what we want our kids to grow up with. We want our girls to sell porn tapes and then have a deprived lifestyle, to have so much money, and all of that. It's just amazing.
Well, I can understand a little bit of that. She does have nice tits, but
yes, she does. Yes, she does.
It's
yes, she does.
This I after I got out of the Army, I went back and got my GED, and I scored 93% on my GED. And I went to General Dynamics there in Fort Worth and applied for a job. Some guy was sitting next to me bragging that he had his GED and that he made 47%. I didn't say a word. I didn't mention anything. I didn't talk about my score. But when I went before the interview, I didn't get the job. He did. He got the job and I didn't. And I really had a hard time figuring that out. But I realized I didn't get the job because the supervisor, the foreman, or whoever it was that was interviewing me was afraid I'd take over his job. And this is what's happened with our police officers. They're not, and I'm sure it's still happening in the Army too. And they were actually right. I said, you know what? I won't follow orders. I won't. You'll never even see me salute again. If I could get out of this wheelchair and walk after they'd tried to kill me, I'd walk out the gate right now.
Yep.
And so
That's just it. They don't want people who can think. Right? They don't want people who actually question. And you are a dangerous person to them because you do ask questions and you do have opinions and you're not the least bit scared of founding upon your ideas. And that's, they want everybody to go and, they want everyone to be complacent. And for the most part, we are. That's why we're where we're at as far as society goes right now.
Well,
H.L. Mencken, so
H.L. Mencken, that's Mencken, said the most dangerous man to any government is the man who is able to think things out for himself without regard to the prevailing superstitions and taboos. Almost inevitably, he comes to the conclusion that the government he lives under is dishonest, insane, and intolerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, of course...
Our government is insane and intolerable.
Well, the Senator McCarthy, Joe McCarthy, told James Forrestal that that these communists that were running our government were stupid, and Forrestal disagreed with him. He said, no, consistency is not the mark of stupidity. If they were just stupid, occasionally they'd make a mistake in our favor. And that's what got him thrown out of the 13th floor of the Bethesda Naval Hospital. Probably. These people aren't stupid. I had one of our other so-called patriots wouldn't come on my show anymore because I made the statement, I don't hate the Jews. I kind of admire them. If us white boys, if us white folks, if us Caucasians, if us Christians had it as together as the Jews do, we'd own the Federal Reserve, we'd own the Bank of England, we'd own the International Monetary Fund, we wouldn't be having wars, we wouldn't be killing people, we'd have a whole different kind of society, and I wrote about that kind of society 45 years ago. One that ain't drugged. I mean, come on, guys.
Well,
more people die from pharmaceuticals.
I read something about this, how managers...
Go ahead, what? I'm sorry, you broke up there. David, you back? Where are you? Incredible. Shorted out again.
You have reached the Wolf Spirit Radio switchboard. There is no one available to take your call. Please leave.
Trying to get back on here. Got back on. Yeah, I'm back on now. Got disconnected. Got back. Got you back now. Son of a bitch. They really don't like this conversation, do they? They really don't like this conversation, I guess.
I would like to make a suggestion.
Go ahead, sir.
If we could have 1 minute of silence for Nelson Mandela, who passed away yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
And we'll do that right at the top of the hour, which is in, right now.
That's right now. We could do that if you'd stop talking.
David, we have a lot of fun here.
Yeah.
1 minute of silence for Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison for being a man.
A decent man.
Backway?
Yeah, back here. That was kind of nice of the Fusion Center to help us with that moment of silence. Thanks, guys.
Butt at each other up there and pay attention. You might learn something.
Yeah, that's
Did I
right.
say that out loud? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what I use. People say, well, you know, the FBI are coming to your lectures. They're listening to your show. I said, good. I hope they do. Maybe they will learn something. As a matter of fact, that's you know, have a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something. Part of my intro now. We lost David here for a moment.
I don't know if he hung up or not. He said, I get the impression he was in it for an hour.
Well, I told him 2 hours, but that's all right.
Get through.
And folks, let
I
me.
see Crusade Radio's.
Crusade Radio's back up, right?
You're burbling again. They're really messing with you today.
Yes, sir. The all right. Let's see if we can get him back up again. Now, in case we can't, let me tell you, this whole pharmaceutical industry is it's a scam, and the lead developer of human papilloma viruses, HPV. She was the lead researcher in the development of these vaccines, Gardasil and Cervatrix. She's now the latest in a long string of experts who are pressing the red alert button on the devastating consequences and irrelevancy of these vaccines. Dr. Harper made her surprising confession at the 4th International Conference on Vaccinations, which took place in Reston, Virginia. Let's see what we got. Hello, who do we have here?
Oh, this is John Holman. Is this Clay?
Yes, sir.
Clay, see if you remember me. We used to have June's Restaurant in Overgard, Arizona. I was a truck driver that stopped in and saw you, and I got your magazine. Do you remember me at all?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I've eaten there a couple of times.
Oh, very good. Yeah, we ended up selling it, but am I disturbing you? Do you have just a moment?
Well, sir, I've got just a moment, but let me warn you in advance so that you are on the air. I'm in the middle of my radio show, and
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, I do.
Okay.
I still do. You know, they tried to kill me there in Phoenix and stopped the Free American magazine for a while. I have now
Uh-huh.
got that back online. It's I just not paying UPS to ship it. I'm not paying Hearst Paper Company to print it. I'm not paying Barnes and Noble. I'm not giving them half of the $5 that you paid for the magazine. I'm doing it
Uh-huh.
all online. I've got it for $2.99 on shop.freeamerican.com. And I've got this
Very good.
radio show that goes for 2 hours, 5 days a week, every morning. So I haven't quite retired.
No, that sounds good. I guess I haven't either really, but we moved away. I bought a truck, got on the road for a while, and came back. We live in Taylor now, and I was on a site here. I was reading up on Deborah Tavares, and we're reading on the ELF waves and all that, the smart meter, and all of a sudden I looked on her site, and there you were. I said, Clay Douglas. I said, this sure sounds familiar, and I realized who it was. But anyway, the last time I was in touch, and I really wasn't in touch with you, I think it was your wife. You were in a motorcycle accident, some lady hitch, I think it was. So I was
Yes.
hoping you made it through, and I guess you did.
Well, when the accident failed to kill me, the woman with no insurance in a borrowed car, uh, who never went to jail, she when that failed to kill me, they rushed me to the hospital and kept me drugged for 3 months, basically for 3 broken ribs. They ran up a three-quarter
Really?
million dollar hospital bill, and my son finally told them to take him off the drugs. Take him off the drugs. They were feeding me Halcyon, Haldol, Valium, and morphine, all at the same time, and I got no memory of 3 months in the hospital, but I think the only mistake they made was trying to overdose an old biker, you know. Probably ain't
Yeah.
gonna happen. And
I often won.
go ahead.
I often wondered if it was a deliberate thing, but whoever I talked to said no, they thought it was just an accident.
Well,
More or
no,
less.
that was bullshit because I had just
Yeah.
come out with the March issue of the Free American with building number 7 on the cover, and I referred to it on the air as an exaggerated case of Jewish lightning. And the the story broke in New York Times about the NSA tapping all of our phones, but the NSA
Right.
didn't tap anybody's phones. They farmed it out to 2 Israeli companies, Amdocs and Converse. And on May 20th, I called home and asked my son, where do you need me to go next, son? Where are you, Dad? I'm on the north side of Phoenix, Sacred Skin Tattoo Parlor. Oh, go down 24th Street to McDowell, turn left, go to the wheel shop. It's right there, Dad. Okay, see you later, son. And 2 blocks before I got to McDowell is where the woman hit me. They rushed me to the hospital and kept me drugged for 3 months. Got no memory of 3 months in the hospital except for some hallucinations. And then 2 guys in blue pinstripe suits showed up 3 days after I was off the drugs. I was up and walking and talking. Had to carry my coffee in my right hand because I had 3 broken ribs on the left side, but they had almost healed by that time. And they said, how you doing, Clay? You been hallucinating? And I had been, but I hadn't told anybody. Hadn't told my doctor, hadn't told my wife, hadn't told my children.
Right.
I said, yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Why, who are you? Well, you can thank us for that. We're CIA. CIA? Huh? What are you doing in this country, and what are you doing fucking with me? Oh, we don't like you publishing that motorcycle magazine. Remember I was publishing at the time Thunder Riders magazine also. And I said, motorcycle magazine, man, the Free American's the one I exposed you spook types in. What do you got against the motorcycle magazine? Well, you paint a rosy picture riding motorcycles, and you got a big audience, and we don't like that. The translation is, my sons kept the motorcycle magazine running, They didn't have the skill and the knowledge to keep the Free American going, but they kept the motorcycle magazine going. And so I still had a source of income, and that's what they didn't like. The 2 days after that, I ran them off. I said, boys, you know, thanks for the high, but frankly it wasn't nearly as good as that acid you brought in the 60s. Now get out of my hospital. 2 days later, a woman shows up with a 8-inch syringe, 3-inch needle on it, filled with some kind of purple liquid, and said, hi, Mr. Douglas, I got to give you this injection. Yeah, what is that? It's just a tranquilizer. Well, lady, I don't feel much like being tranquil today, so I'm going to pass. Thank you anyway. You have to. I have to give you this. No, I got the right to refuse medication. I don't know who you are. I don't know what that is. Doctor didn't prescribe it. I'm not taking it. You have to. I'm going to go get security, and they're going to hold you down. I'm going to give it to you. Go get them, lady. And she did. She came back with 4 uniformed security officers from St. Joseph's Hospital there in Phoenix. I took them aside and I said, boys, a couple of things you need to know. 1, I'm not taking that shot. 2, if you try to give it to me, here's what's going to happen. When I was in Special Forces, they didn't teach me how not to hurt anybody. So you, Chubby, I'm taking your throat out. You, I'm going to break both your legs. You, I'm going to break both your arms. And you, Shorty, I'm just going to smash your kneecap, but you may never walk again. Now, you want to, you guys ready to dance? Come on. And they backed out. I call it the best bluff I'd ever pulled. I lost 100 pounds in the hospital. I hadn't eaten anything in 3 months. I might not have been able to do that, but they didn't want to find out. So, yeah. Does that sound like an accident?
No, I guess not. You know, well, that's what my little voice told me. I said, no, something like that happened to you. Because, you know, you were high profile. I mean, just with, I worried about stuff I gave away in the restaurant. You know, Clay, I watched people with that magazine, and I got the American Free Press as well, and they pick it up and throw it in the garbage almost immediately. And after a while, well, we did sell the restaurant, but I stopped carrying it, I believe, before we sold the restaurant, and people just didn't care. But this stuff is in our face. People better wake up. I mean, they're coming hook, line, and sinker after us. I mean, it's not nice. But we just called the power company. I told them I don't want this smart meter on the house. The lady didn't give me any problems. She scheduled me for today, and because I've been reading about it. So, and I've been having some feelings going on within me, and it all kind of culminated. And I said, I wonder if this is all related. So anyway, but I saw your name, and I just got excited there for a few minutes. So
well, I'm glad
I wanted to talk to you.
I'm glad you. I'm glad you joined me. What was your opinion? Now, I think personally, I think that the Free American today, 10 years later, the Free American is better than it was when it was in print. I cut out all the middlemen. I'm not paying Hearst for their paper. You know, I don't think I'll go back to printing a paper magazine until we got paper made out of hemp. And the magazine has you can read it online. You buy it for $2.99. You can read it within the hour. You get it right when you pay for it. You get it, and it's got links. I've got links to all the different websites. I've got links to the you know, everything in it. So it's really better than it was.
Very good. How do you get it now?
Go to freeamerican.com or shop.freeamerican.com. Put shop in front of freeamerican.com and you go right to my site. You can see I've got 7 issues out now. Okay. And I really appreciate it if you get all of them, because I'm working on number 8 right now.
Okay. And you say you live in Phoenix now?
No, I am now on the coast of Texas. After being in self-imposed exile for 45 years, I moved back to my home state of Texas.
Oh, okay.
And
I guess coming to see you might not happen.
I'm down on the coast of Texas now. I ended up selling my property in New Mexico to do the Liberty Villages there, and then the person I sold it to kicked me off the property as soon as they paid for it.
Oh, nice.
So I tried to bring the Free American out a couple of times back in print, but I couldn't get any advertisers, and you know, they would call up every. I actually had that motorcycle magazine sold for $500,000, and I still retained half of it to a publicly traded company. We signed the papers on Thursday. They put a press release out on Friday, and on Monday I walked into my new offices, and the CEO's white and shaking. I can't go through with it, Clay. They're trying to. They contacted every stockholder in the company and told them what a right-wing, radical, racist, anti-Semite you are, and they're threatening to impeach me if I go through with a deal. So they've never stopped with me, and this radio show, it's gotten broken up 2 or 3 times today because we're talking about the drugging of our children, the kidnapping of our children, the Department of Homeland Security, and you know, the whole Child Protective Services, which is simply a way to try to remove you from your children, remove the children from their families, and drug them. I mean, my God, we're paying, we're giving our children, if they're bright, we're giving them Ritalin and trying to invent a disease that doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, well, they educate them stupid, and it's a very sad thing.
They don't call it programming for nothing. That's here, set them in front of the TV. Let the TV babysit them.
Yeah.
Let the TV program them. Well, listen,
Yeah,
I hope you get the. I hope you pick up my magazine. And
let me look at it. And how long your programs? Every what day now?
Every 5 days a week at 9 o'clock in the morning Central Time, 8 o'clock Mountain. I don't know whether Arizona's now on Mountain or Pacific Time.
All I know is we don't change our time, so I don't know which one it is actually.
Yeah, what time is it there now?
Right now it's 9:20.
All right, you're on Mountain Time. You're on Mountain Time.
Okay.
So the show starts at 8 o'clock your time.
What?
But
what
you can
station?
hear. Well, freeamerican.com. Freeamerican.com.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little too hot for AM or FM. We're broadcasting on 3 different stations, and on the internet. We're on Wolf Spirit Radio. We're on a few other ones. Where you can get it at TalkStream Live /program/Clay Douglas. You can get it on Crusade, but it's always on freeamerican.com, and you can hear any of the shows any time of the day or night just by clicking on the name of my guest.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're doing good and you stay healthy.
Oh, I will. I just to protect you, I don't take subscriptions anymore, but the magazine comes out every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. Things are happening so fast now in this whole New World Order, let's get their guns bullshit, that I can bring it out every 2 weeks now because I don't have to wait for the printing. I don't have to drive 500 miles to pick up the magazine. I don't have to have a truck to haul it in. And you can get it for $2 cheaper than you could at Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
That may be progress.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made it through all that ordeal, and you keep plugging on. I know you will. You're a fighter, so.
All right, sir.
Wonderful talking to you. It really was. I'd like to see you sometime, but we'll see what happens. Fate, you never know.
All right, sir.
But you stay healthy, and maybe we'll give you a call sometime when you're not on the radio.
All right, sir. Anytime. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks, Clay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was kind of nice. Have one of my old subscribers, one of my old distributors that had a wonderful restaurant up on I-40. And where were we? Where were we here? First of all, let's see what's going on in the chat room. And all right. Okay. Back what I was talking about, the lead developer of these vaccines, Gardasil, and
do you see where they want to give that shot to boys now?
I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen that.
When I see that all this bullshit they call medicine, and the stupid people who believe doctors are there to help them, why did, when they give you a certain shot, they have to give you 6 or 8 other ones to counteract all the bad things that's going to happen to you when you take that?
Because they make a 2,000% markup on the fucking shot. It's all about the money, Dave. It's all about the money.
No, it's more than that, Clay. If you take a look at some of these things, I took Plavix for 7 years. One of the dangers of Plavix is enlarging a heart chamber and a leaky valve.
That's what
So
Depakote does too. They told my wife, make sure he takes this Depakote, and I looked up the contraindications on it. It causes heart attacks. But you know, I try not to get offended when you refer to my ex-wife like that, but Clay, those doctors tried to save you. No, ma'am, they tried to kill me. That's what they did, and of course that's why I got my 4th divorce.
Hang on a minute. Rabbit Ed and a bunch of other ones are permanently banned.
Oh, did he come back?
He can't come back.
It's good. Good. I mean, you know, this they're such cowards. You want to talk to me? My phone number's up on every. Here's a guy that hadn't seen me in 10 years. He found my phone number. He called into my radio show. He didn't know I was on the radio, but he still called me. You know.
That's true.
Rabbit Ed never Rabbit Ted or whatever, Rabbi Ted. He's never called. He doesn't identify himself. I don't know who the fuck he is. I don't know. I know he's probably not a rabbi. He may not even be Jewish. I don't know what he is. Oh, but don't talk about my people. They're nothing but cowards. They're nothing but cowards.
That's on a good day.
And he's you know, these yeah, they're even I think they're worse than cowards. And you know, come on, guys. I got another guy here. We've had some people on here that are upset, you know, because they get on the handle that I'm a racist somehow, and I don't care, Dave. I don't care what race you were born in. I don't care who your grandmother slept with. That doesn't matter. What matters to me is I judge the tree by its fruit. I judge people by what they do. You know,
I don't judge anybody, but I tell you this. I watch what people say. I watch what they do. And when I watch these Ashkenazi bastards and these stupid motherfuckers we call politicians who are supposed to represent us, and who do they represent? The fucking Ashkenazi.
Yes. Yes, they do. That's now I just sent an email to Jesse Ventura's publicist to have him on because I really like what he's got to say. If he got elected president, and he's running for president, he's selected a Jew to be his vice president, and you may not like Howard Stern, but he's got money and he's sharp. And what Jesse is saying, if I got elected president, I'm running as an independent, and we haven't had an independent president since George Washington. And I would like to see him get on. I mean, I think he's got the right handle.
And you know, I hate to bust your bubble on George Washington, but he was a bastard. If you take a look at the true history, he sold us out from day one. Just like there was only 2 or 3 people who signed the Constitution who were on our side. Because the Constitution, the way it was written, made us all slaves. The Bill of Rights is the only thing we got going for us, outside of people waking up and realizing that everything that they're doing, they're playing in the sandbox built for them.
Well, you are probably correct on that. Now, my only opposition here, one, I took an oath to defend that Constitution because it's all we had. 200 years ago.
And you think I didn't?
Well, of course you did. Of course you did. It doesn't mean that they, you know, I mean, think about Hamilton. I mean, he was a banker's man. He was, you know, but in those days, at least we could have duels, and so Burr got to shoot him. You know, we can't shoot Greenspan today. We can't shoot one of our congressmen. And it's so yeah, there's problems with it. We probably ought to go back to the Confederation. And J.B. Campbell, who you know, got me and probably kicked off another station because he said we are to shoot these crooked cops. We got the right to defend ourselves. He's come up with basically a plan called the American Defense Party. And I think he's got some real good ideas on that. You know, that we ought to stop these parties, and that's what Jesse Ventura is saying, and he's echoing what I told you. You know, the Republicans and Democrats, that's 2 wings of the same bird, and the bird's a fucking vulture. It ain't. It ain't an eagle. It ain't an eagle. It's carrion. It's hunting for dead bodies, and they want dead bodies. They want wars. Matter of fact, the last issue, I've got the whole Rothschild plan. You know, if there's not an enemy of sufficient power, you know, we'll give them the power. We'll give them the weapons. We'll fund them. They fund both sides. They want to see the Christians fighting the Muslims, and the Ashkenazis sit back and fund both sides and make money off of them. And if you get killed, who gets your Social Security benefits? Who gets your pensions? Who gets that if you're killed? They got an insurance policy on our soldiers, so they make as much money off a soldier if he's killed than they do of the ones that we kill. And I think, Dave, now you correct me if you're wrong. I didn't go to combat. I wasn't in combat. But I think if you don't have post-traumatic stress syndrome, then you are sick. If you don't, and what I think post-traumatic stress syndrome is a conscience. It's a conscience. I mean, these Vietnamese farmers that we bombed and we put Agent Orange on, they were no threat to us in America, were they? How about that? What do you think? You've been in combat. You know, you followed orders. Your orders were to kill this person and that person. If you feel bad about that, do you have post-traumatic stress syndrome or do you have a conscience?
Well, I used to think about that a whole lot. And I was going to a marriage counselor with wife number 3 rather.
I got you beat. I got you beat.
I got 7 ex-wives.
Okay,
Try
never
that.
mind. Never mind.
Now, let me explain to you what she said to me. She said, the orders you followed implicitly, and she said, I know you did. She said, the blood you spilt rests on their head and their hands, not yours. And it took almost a month for that to really sink in, and I said, whoop-de-fucking-do. And I have counseled and worked with many veterans who cannot, for the life of me, understand that. Well, I killed them. Did you follow orders? Yeah. Well, that doesn't make any difference. Yes, it does. And when you grow up enough and you can get that, you're going to be able to handle anything that comes your way. Now, I have severe PTSD, or supposedly, and the doctor down at the VA said, well, you have to take this drug. I said, if you try to give me another, to shut your ass. I don't need that goddamn drug because I understand what's going on with me. Do you understand what's going on with you? Do you understand that I know that for every prescription you write that gets filled, you get a big healthy payback? He turned red and walked out of the room.
Well, when I got out of the hospital, you know, they said, take this Depakote. I said, I'm not taking that Depakote. The only thing I need is a joint and a Harley. And
well, I don't need a joint and I don't need a Harley.
Well, everybody has different needs. You know,
there you go.
I don't need 7 wives. You know, I gotta tell you, Dave, I back when I was about 22, 23, I taught dancing. I taught dancing at Arthur Murray's studio in Fort Worth, Texas. And I was married to my first wife, and after the studio closed, me and the guy that ran the studio, his name was Worth McClure. I'm sure he's dead now, but Worth was he was a excellent dancer, ran a great company, ran a great studio, and we would stop off at a bar and have a couple of drinks after the studio closed and dance with some of the women, some of our students. And my wife showed up and was raising hell with me in the bar. I took her outside and made arrangements for my first divorce. And I walked back into the bar, sat down next to Worth McClure, and my hand was shaking. I picked up my rum and coke, and my hand was shaking. And Worth looked over at me and said 3 words that I can hear today. I mean, as clear as a bell. I can hear Worth McClure say those 3 words every time I walk away or kick out another one of my girlfriends or wives. You know, I don't know whether they're all insane or whether I just attract the insane ones. I don't know.
What's the 3 words?
See why I'm gay? It was that
you
was.
know, I have a lot of gay friends.
Well,
because up here in Pahrump, Nevada, where I live, there is a whole colony of them up there. There's a whole colony of people who do BDSM. Well, I lived that lifestyle for many years, and one day I woke up and I said, why do I want to be with a woman who wants me to tell her what I want?
well, you know, there was I don't care. Somebody, one of the people in our chat, confided to me that he was talking to me from a gay bar and wanted to know how I felt about it. I said, you know, I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own home. And I don't care what position you want or who you do it with in your own bedroom. as long as you don't try to convince my children, that your lifestyle is right. And I feel the same way about the Christians out there, or the Muslims, or the Jews. If you want to bang your head against that Wailing Wall, knock yourself out. I'll watch. I ain't going to do it. If you want to get down on your hands and knees...
You're too excited.
What's that?
You're burbling, Clay.
I'm burbling? You were burbling. I thought that was you burbling.
No, that's you burbling. The boys up at the Fusion Center are having fun today.
Yeah, they are. They really hate it when we're starting to really get to the point. And by the way, my guest today, he talks about on his website here. He says.
Right back.
Okay, he said in his writing a new book, Rabbit Hole Part 2, finding myself in the middle of a divorce, I have decided to take a break from my advocacy work in order to write another book. This one will explain what I've gone through since my first book and the trials and tribulations that have occurred with my advocacy work. I never thought I would be here. I still love Michael, but he can no longer take the work I'm doing. We've drifted so apart that the guy hates me and will do whatever he can to lash out and hurt me. And it is going to take some time to get this resolved. I am returning back to get my stuff and my dogs, and I will resume my work when this is all over. My heart is broken. I've sacrificed everything to try and do my advocacy work, and now that's all I have left. I hope that those of you who have been following me will continue to do so, as I will be resuming my work after I return. Now, he's in a divorce from somebody named Michael, but you know what? That didn't come out and wasn't an issue when I was having the conversation with him. And if you go back and listen to the conversation that we had, I think he's a pretty intelligent guy. And again, I don't care what you do in your bedroom. Don't care. The thoughts occurred to me that I might be a lesbian in a man's body. But of course, you wanna know more about me, go to Facebook Free American 69 or YouTube Free American 69, and well, you can learn more about me. Now, folks, I got my books out there, and working on the next issue of the Free American right now. Even and got the whole thing about the Kardashians in there. That's a pretty incredible story, complete with pictures. Complete with pictures. Now, let me see here. This issue that I'm working on now, we've got. This is one of the things I touched on the other day, that the desperate media network foments war on truth tellers. The latest strategy in the corrupt U.S. establishment's war on freedom of speech has been defined. And I've got a link here. I'm not going to play it right now. They're trying to, again, make us into haters, somehow demonize us. And Kaminsky has done a good article. He'll be on in a few days. The latest strategy of the corrupt U.S. establishment's war on freedom of speech has been defied. The CNN, the Jewish Communist News Network, deployed its star homosexual anchorman, ex-CIA spook Anderson Cooper, to introduce one of its many show flunkies to declare that conspiracy theorists are potential suicide warriors and are mentally disturbed. In non-media reality, it is CNN and the U.S. government who are mentally disturbed, not to mention pathological liars and psychotic killers. The CNN video illustrates how the Jewish-controlled news media has ramped up its campaign to criminalize to criminalize 9/11 skeptics, peace advocates, Occupy movement participants, and those who realize that Israel and the Jewish bankers utterly and ruthlessly control U.S. politics and finance. The Jewish control, we called it Zog in the old days, the Jewish-controlled American government through its Frankenstein creations of the Department of Homeland Security, and 97% of whose grants go to Jewish interest groups fighting anti-Semitism, and the Transportation Safety Administration, which harasses innocent people at airports and on highways, have already targeted dissidents for special handling. The so-called expert was none other than the executive editor of the CNN program, The Daily Beast. Maybe that's an admission of the eighth beast that I talk about in Mystery Babylon. He's the author of the book Wingnuts, How the Lunatic Fringe is Hijacking the Country, where this CIA cutout, John Avlon, reporting honestly, he would be talking about how the neocon lunatic fringe has hijacked the U.S. government, plundered and poisoned the population, and conducted a string of illegal wars based on the monumental lie of the 9/11 false flag attack on its own citizens, which these kosher psychopaths in Washington used to trigger endless series of wars throughout the Muslim world and around the world. Avlon, it should be noted, was a former speechwriter for corrupt mayor of New York City, Rudy Giuliani, a principal co-conspirator in the 9/11 cover-up. Spewing such freighted labels as fright-wing politics and the Patriot movement, Avalon describes the focus of their venom as the real wake-up call for all Americans. That's a wake-up call, all right, says John Kaminsky. A clarion call for all Americans not to tolerate these criminal misrepresentations one more day. In keeping with the unprofessional journalistic ineptitude which typically characterizes CN's propaganda screeds, neither Cooper nor Avalon ever mentioned the man's actual name, nor the crime he is accused of committing, meaning that this broadside was meant for anyone who opposes the criminal behavior of the Jew-bought perverts running the U.S. government in Washington. And these, by the way, are the same people that are feeding you and your children genetically modified corn, drugs, vaccines, and pharmaceuticals. It is warmongering crap like this, blatant Jewish bullshit, that CNN has lost almost half their viewers in a single year.
Isn't that a shame?
The people who are being savaged and defamed in this CNN are the very people who are trying to reclaim America from the Jewish monster, the Ashkenazis. That's the real Nazis. I mean, these people that Jesus tried to warn you about, the Jews who say they're Jews but are not, are of the synagogue of Satan. I mean, just like my guest talked about today, these are Satanists, and he says he came from a Jewish family. They've twisted history for more than a century. The Jewish bankers who have stolen all our money poisoned our food supply, turned doctors into drug peddlers and teachers into brainless automatons spouting false history. Our justice system doesn't work. Our soldiers have been turned into drug-addled killers. These mental defectives are no longer allowed to own their own firearms unless they sign on with some deranged law enforcement agency after promising they will help abuse poor people and protect the property of the bankers. And these stupid cops don't even realize they also will be eliminated after they have done the bankers' dirty work. All those pictures of...
Play.
Yes, sir.
Play.
Yes, sir. What, Dave? I've lost you there, bud. What happened? Hold on, let me try to get it back. Are you back here? We went offline there for a second.
Welcome back, my brother.
Okay, you got it back? Did we get you back, Dave?
No, I didn't lose anything.
I lost you, bud. They cut me off. I'm sorry.
I know.
I know. You were just trying to disagree with me, and I think they cut you off because of that.
No, I was trying to tell you were burbling.
Oh, well, that's why they were there. Yeah, I hate it when I burble. You know, I really try not to do that. That burbling means that they're about to cut me off here. What did I just say? I said our justice system, this is Kaminsky talking, but I agree with him. And by the way, I only put stories in my magazine that I agree with. Our justice system doesn't work. Our soldiers have been turned into drug-addled killers, and these mental defectives are no longer allowed to own their own firearms unless they sign on with some deranged law enforcement agency after promising they'll help abuse poor people and protect the property of the bankers. And these stupid cops don't even realize that they also will be eliminated after they've done the bankers' dirty work. That's what they did in the Soviet Union after they used the police and soldiers to confiscate the weapons, to take away the weapons of the Russian people. They murdered them. And then they took pictures of their bodies and told you they were Jews. Hard to tell whether somebody's Jewish when their body laying in a pit, isn't it? 60 million white Russians were killed.
It's interesting when they throw out that 6 million number.
Been doing that for a century, over a century.
Since the 1880s.
Yes, sir.
Now, they had gas chambers at all the work camps. But even the German officers went through it because of why? Because of the Zirculon B they used to kill lice that turns the walls blue.
Yep.
There weren't 6 million Jews that were murdered by the Nazis.
I also have, in this issue that I'm working on right now, I also have the census. I've got the census from, let me see here where this is. I've got the census from 1933 and 1948 about the world population of Jews. In other words, the World Almanac, the world population of Jews increased between 1933 and 1948 from 15,315,000 to 15,753,000. If the German government under Adolf Hitler had, as alleged, murdered 6 million Jews, those losses should have been reflected by the Jewish population numbers quoted in the World Almanac. The suspicions raised by the numbers concerning the veracity of these allegations made against the Hitler government are confirmed by the 3-volume report by the International Committee of the Red Cross, released 1948 in Geneva. The farm.
And
Go ahead.
one of the things they never tell you. There's two things they never talk about. That was the 800 Jews that were in a hospital in Berlin that the Germans took excellent care of. The Germans, not the Ashkenazis. And the fact that there was an International Red Cross office at every work camp. They weren't concentration camps, they were work camps. And with that, I'll shut up for a while.
Well, the Red Cross report is of value in that it first clarifies the legitimate circumstances on which the Jews were detained in the work camps, or they call concentration camps, as enemy aliens. In describing the two categories of civilian internees, the report distinguishes the second type as civilians deported on administrative grounds who were arrested for political or racial motives because their presence was considered a danger to the state or the occupation forces. We did the same thing with the Japanese here. These persons, it continues, were placed on the same footing as people arrested or imprisoned under common law for security reasons. The report admits that the Germans were at first reluctant to permit supervision by the Red Cross of people detained on grounds related to security, but by the latter part of 1942, the ICRC, the International Committee of Red Cross, obtained important concessions from Germany. They were permitted to distribute food parcels to major concentration camps in Germany from 1942, and from February 1943 onwards, this concession was extended to all other camps and prisons. The ICRC soon established contact with the camp commandants and launched a food relief program which continued to function until the last months of 1945. Letters of thanks for which came pouring in from the Jewish internees. Red Cross recipients were Jews. The report states that as many as 9,000 parcels were packed daily. From the autumn of 1943 till May 1945, about 1,112,000 parcels with a total weight of 4,500 tons were sent off to the concentration camps. Volume 3, page 80. In addition to food, these contained clothing and pharmaceutical supplies. Parcels were sent to Dachau, Buchenwald, Sangerhausen, Sachsenhausen, Orangeburg, Flossen, Landsberg, Lexflor, Riversbrook, Hamburg, Nigam, Batzuhausen, Thiesenhaus, Auschwitz, and Bergen-Belsen. The camps near Vienna and central and southern Germany. The principal recipients were Belgians, Dutch, French, Greeks, Italians, Norwegians, Poles, and stateless Jews. In the course of the committee was in a position to transfer and distribute in the form of relief supplies over 20 million Swiss francs collected by Jewish welfare organizations throughout the world, and in particular by the American Joint Distribution Committee in New York, Volume 1, page 644. This latter organization was permitted by the German government to maintain offices in Berlin until the American entry into the war. The ICRC complained that obstruction of their vast relief operations for Jewish internees came not from the Germans, but from the tight Allied blockade of Europe. Most of their purchases of relief food were made in Romania, Hungary, and Slovakia. The ICRC had special praise for the liberal conditions which prevailed at Thiesenstadt up until the time of their last visit there in April of 1945. This camp...
Let me interrupt you for a minute.
Go ahead, sir.
People who call in with an unknown phone number, I do not answer. If you aren't honest enough to show me what your phone number is, you can go fuck yourself.
I think he's talking to you, Ted. maybe, I don't know.
I don't answer
answer
unknown phone numbers. I don't give a shit.
The gentleman that just called me that was distributing my magazine, his phone number popped right up. He popped right up. I answered him. And, you know, that's the way it should be. I mean, all you, the people that are hiding there, that's bull, you know. Now, this...
we have 3 minutes left.
That's all right. Folks, I'm telling you, go get the magazines. Yes, I sell the magazine. This is the way I make a living. I read, I report, I edit, I find this information. I put it together in a magazine that I've sold for 10 years in the best bookstores across America. This is what I do to make a living. I do this show for free. I don't charge Dave to have me on like Rush Limbaugh or Michael Savage. And I'm asking you to make the donations to Wolf Spirit Radio so you can listen to people like me. And, you know, want you to know, man, I admire Nelson Mandela for fighting for his people. I admire Geronimo, Sitting Bull, and Cochise for fighting for their people. I am not racist, and I judge by your actions. I appreciate warriors. I appreciate truth warriors, and that's all I want is the truth. I'm not out there to take over. I'm not running for office. I don't want to. I don't want to work within the government. I want to. I do want to defend the innocent. I do want to. I want my children, my grandchildren, to be safe and secure, and I want the same thing for you. Wolf Spirit Dave Corso puts me on this show, and he depends on you for the donations. I depend on you for donations. I do this, and I sell this magazine. I do the show. No, it's not just entertainment. Somebody asked me, David, they said, I just got into politics. Well, it ain't about politics. I am an entertainer. I write books to entertain you. I write fiction to entertain you. I do the show to entertain you. But among my work in my shows and in my writing and in my magazines, I tell you the truth. And I'm on Wolf Spirit Radio because I am not censored. And I even put up with a little bit of chewing out for putting not putting the spaces between the names. And I take it good-naturedly. And folks, I want to thank you for listening. And I want to tell you again, I make my living selling magazines, selling books, selling videos, and it's good work. I do pretty good work, and Dave Corso does a great job with Wolf Spirit Radio. You need to support wolfspiritradio.com. God bless you all. I'm out of time. I'm out of here. Bye. down. Sit down.